Brad Ferris, welcome to the Marketing for Business podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, you're the first international guest live. I actually had Lynn Askin. He was my first international guest, but you're the first international guest live, all the way from Canada. What are you doing in Christchurch?
This is my 6-year anniversary of having my first agency. So I promised my family that I would give them a week of vacation for each year that I dedicated to the agency. So we're here for 6 weeks.
So you've been traveling Australia, New Zealand?
Yeah, I started in Australia beginning of December, and I was intending to go home right after New Year's, but the points windows didn't open until the 12th and 15th. So I said, hey, what are you doing? And you said, come to New Zealand, see the beautiful country, and be on the podcast.
Every time I talk to people when I'm in the States, I say, you got to come to New Zealand once in your life. A few people have listened. You're one of them, which is awesome. I also had Tim. He's come as well from Seven Figure Agency. Look, great to have you here. This is a great chat. Look, for business owners tuning into this one, grab a pen, grab some paper, because this guy knows a lot about marketing. He knows a lot about hiring, a lot about leadership, personal development. We're really going to jam today. We both have committed. This is the 5th day of January. Like, I actually came back from holiday to record this episode. Yep. And also yesterday we had an awesome day on the water. We went and caught crayfish out of Akaro. And how good was that?
I left paradise to come and do the podcast because it's beautiful out on that East Coast.
Oh man, so good. Hey, look, you're from London, Canada. Yep. You're a serial entrepreneur. You're also an author of a book. Yep. You run an agency, but what I also love, and what I've read, you're a registered nurse, but also you were a manager of McDonald's for about 6 years. Yeah. Now, people always tell me that managers at McDonald's, they must learn some certain things to be really, really good. Is it true that everything is systemized in that business?
Everything. Yeah. So the one beautiful part, so that was I had a lawn cutting business, but first serious job was when I was 16 and I got hired at my local McDonald's just down the street. And everything from how you cook a hamburger on the grill to how you greet a customer with a hands up at that point in time, because it was a whole hands up initiative, all the way through how you restock and your responsibilities. That starts from the very first day that you start at that corporation all the way to the end. So one of the best stories that I love telling is there was a guy back in the day named Joe Guzzo, if you want to look him up. And he had started at McDonald's when he was a teenager, and in his 50s, he was the guy that basically created the just-in-time fry concept, which is you come into McDonald's, you order a meal. He wanted those fries as fresh as possible. Yep. So he would walk into any restaurant and he would immediately ask you about the SOP and what your checklist was. And he would grab an apron and he would work the fry station. And he would show everybody what the standard was. And that's somebody that was probably at that point VP of something. Yeah. And just walking in, expectation from everybody is we're going to do it here in Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Russia. It's all going to be done exactly the same way. And they do put you through different leadership courses that as a corporation they've purchased and kind of refined for themselves. But the standard is there. And to be honest, it's been 20 years since I've been back, and every time I go into one, the standard is still there. You can see it.
That's crazy, right? I remember seeing that when I was in Spain. And I don't get McDonald's a lot, but back in the day when I was a bit younger, I did. And I remember going to Spain and go, "Whoa, that's all the same." Like everything was the same. Was there any way you could improve the SOPs, or were those SOPs set in standard?
No, they were set in standard. They had, and I would assume that they still have a mechanism in place where you can have suggestions. So almost every suggestion that happens inside of the company comes from inside the company. The interesting thing at that time was there were no outside consulting agencies. There were no outside marketing agencies. Yeah. It was all promoted from within. You understood the identity, you understood the core values and the mission. Probably about 80% of people flow out of that job because it's their first job, go on to other things. But almost everybody I ever met in upper leadership had started at the very bottom. And, they were doing point of purchase, which they used to call POP. Yeah. So all the old display signs, now they're digital, but you used to have to go out and change them outside and stuff like that. All of that was done internally.
Wow. So you became a manager there after, you worked there for 6 years. Was there any opportunity to buy, or did you get to a point where you'd had enough and learned enough, or?
Yeah. So in Canada, franchisees weren't as popular anymore. They had kind of largely gone away, which was corporate. Yep. But there was a leadership program that I went into, seriously considering whether or not, there's more job opportunities than just a restaurant manager.
Yeah.
You can go work in the marketing, you can go work inside of, product development and stuff like that. Ultimately, I fell in love with healthcare because I'm a nurse by training and still licensed as well right now. So I think, I kind of put that time in, and, having an argument with somebody about their filet of fish having, a softer bun than it should have kind of gets a little old. But honestly, I still have friends that work there years later that are now in corporate, and they look like they're having just as much fun as they did when I was working in the restaurant.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I was curious to ask that because, like so many people say, oh yeah, McDonald's, this, and this. And it's cool to hear from someone who actually worked there and got up the ranks. Hey, let's fast forward to today. How do you, as a business owner, because business owners might be thinking this, how do you get to take 6 weeks off?
You have an amazing team. Yeah. So 6 years, most people don't know the pain and suffering that we have as entrepreneurs.
Sure.
But, really good hiring. And that was one of the things you mentioned off the top. I have a very unorthodox hiring style, a fairly consistent leadership style. But you're always looking for the best person in the world. And the best metaphor I always make when hiring for my businesses is I'm looking for the person that can replace what I'm doing right now. There's zero fear that I have. If someone wanted to come and take my title right now, which is Chief Operating Officer, that door is wide open, and I already have a director of operations who wants that job. So all that it is time and attention and grooming her into that role so that I can go and either be an investor or be a passive owner or be more involved maybe in the sales and the marketing than I am right now. Probably the one lesson I had early on, because I think I've had about 1,200 people work for me over the years in private equity and other different areas. So, we only have 40 left right now. So I got rid of a lot of people. Most people, when they put out a job posting, they kind of assess the first 25 resumes. I think you need about 100 to 500. Okay. And I think, the example I use again, using metaphors, is if you lined up those 20 people, 1 to 20 looks pretty good. Yeah. But if you put that 20th person in a group of 200, they look pretty average.
Yeah, true.
And I think that's the biggest misconception people have is even here in Christchurch, you're like, oh, I don't have as many people, but the sales. No, you have so many people. Yeah. It's just, you're not always in the market when the best person for that job is looking. So it takes a portion of headhunting and marketing and your brand. Our good friend Matt Plapp always basically hires directly from his social media. Yeah. So people know him so well and they see the culture that he builds that when he has an opportunity, he just has to let a couple people know, and he has pretty much the heck of the best people applying. Yeah.
I just put a job advert out today, and we will fill that. I know from our social media. I know we have enough eyeballs on the business and actually enough people apply for anything. As we have on our website, we have, hey, if you want to join the team, there's a place where people can send their CVs all the time. There's a pool there of people already wanting to come here. But I think, the days of having to use all these job sites, etc., well, they still play a part. There's so many opportunities just within your network, who who knows you, and getting it out there. Let's look at hiring though, because I want to go into conversation. I really do want to talk about marketing, but let's talk about hiring first, and let's talk about some of the because in markets right now, the job market is actually quite tight. There's people wanting jobs. So let's look at it from that angle first, because there'll be people listening to this going, hey, how do I actually get a job? And then there'll be the business owners, the flip side to that. So let's talk about them as well. But what would you say, to people that are looking for a job? I've got some ideas on this, but what would you say people need to do to stand out today?
I think the word is control.
Control?
Control. I think one of the very first things that you want to demonstrate to somebody when you're in a job interview is how much you want to take on for them that allows them to go off and do other things. Yeah. As the person doing the hiring, I think you're looking for the person who can do that exact thing as well, which is how much can they take on? What quality of work can they take on? But I'm a big person on interview questions, and I kind of cringe most interviews that I hear where people are asking, tell me of a time when. I don't care about what happened in the past. I'm hiring you for what you're going to be doing in the future. So if someone really wants to get make a good example to me and they know my interview style, they're coming to me, having probably watched a podcast like this, and they're saying, hey, Brad, here's the 5 things that I believe right now I can do in the next 6 months. And here's the next 5 after that. That's going to allow you to do this, this, and this. And probably I'm going to sit back in my chair and probably, tell someone to close the door virtually. And I go, let's have a great conversation around, what that looks like. High caliber people, they take a long time to develop. Just kind of like what we're talking about with McDonald's. Often I will post apprenticeships, which is a paid program over 6 to 18 months to get, especially a young marketing to a marketing associate. They might be right out of school. They might be really ambitious, but they got to learn the ropes and need to talk to clients and kind of understand how to do that. That takes time. And usually as owners, we're trying to fill those positions and there's a big gap in the time of development to the time of execution. And we're a little unaware of that imbalance.
I think also it depends on what stage you're at. You can skip that line a wee bit if you can afford to pay more. But do you know, when I was working through this whole period, you can definitely, you definitely have to hire and train, really give those people the skills that they require. Because a lot of people have, they might have a marketing degree, but it doesn't really translate to what we do. That's for sure.
The best sports teams have that deep bench or that deep system of development.
So true. I think I love what we talk about ownership and initiative. What can and I think this is really key. If you're a young person, you're looking for a role and you're looking for a job, definitely go and listen to a podcast. Go and look at some of the clients they have and bring in, hey, here's some things, ideas I've thought of how you could do things. So many people, we've had some, you would have had some funnies at the time, but I remember one job we were hiring for, it was a Google ad job. And the person, when real quickly, I thought, okay, cool, what's your experience? Because I asked a few questions, I kind of, okay, maybe we've missed the gap here with, what's your experience? And they're like, I sit next to the person that does it at the agency. And I was like, what? Like, you sit next to the person. So they basically, on their CV, it said they had this experience, but it was actually because they sat next to the person. And I was like, man, we need to get clear on ads. We don't want the person sitting, we want the person in the seat. But I find it really interesting. Like, it doesn't take much, and that's probably the point I want to get across. It doesn't take much for people to stand out. If you want the role, if you want to get in, have an ownership, have initiative, and bring it to the table. Okay, so as a business owner then, when I'm hiring, what are some of the fundamental things I should be doing? And you already mentioned a couple, but what are some of the fundamentals I should be looking at as a business owner?
So for the last 6 years, we've done this process, and I can't imagine that we'll stop for the next 6. There's a fantastic software out in the world called Loom, Loom. I think you get your first 5 or 10 videos, 5 minutes for free. Anyone that applies to our positions, they have to apply with their resume, their CV, answer a couple of questions, but we ask them to shoot a Loom video. 2 minutes, tell us, what are you going to bring to this role, right? Show us your energy, show us your initiative, show us your personality. That to me is kind of the 2026 cover letter. I'll still read the cover letter. I like it. I still want the person to reach out to me on LinkedIn and connect and, probably watch the podcasts and our YouTube and understand our agency well. But if I got, 200 or 300 people applying, I kind of want to know who those top aggressive 5 are going to be. And honestly, I'm kind of biased that way. My time is really, really important. And if you're going to put that initiative in and you're going to really demonstrate, I'm probably going to pay attention. And at a C level, when you got to go through a director, a manager, the hiring recruiter, and you can get one of the owners directly, get their attention directly. I think that we give everybody that mechanism. Not everyone takes it, but the ones that take it the furthest, they tend to be the best hires.
Definitely. I love people that drop a CV in or call me. Or call one of our team if they know the person they'll call in. And I always give that person an interview because it just shows initiative. They're not because, in the day, people deal with people, right? So if they're willing to come in and show initiative, then definitely. I like the Loom. I definitely like the Loom if we had, say, 10 good CVs, going back to them and say, hey, by the way, we'd love to see a Loom. Shoot us a Loom. And I love what you talked about, show us your energy, tell us what you bring to this role. And that way we could really filter out the people based on that as well.
One of the questions that we ask in interviews, because I'm kind of anti-historical ones, so that typical question of where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years, I actually hate that question.
Well, I've asked that.
So we ask the question instead of, this position, where does that currently fit in your career trajectory?
Okay.
And I want to hear from that person about like, where does this fit? Right? Is this something that they've been waiting for, hunting for? It's okay if it's interim. It's okay if they're still uncertain. But I want to know, like, from a personal development, from a professional development, yeah, where does this fit for them?
That's a really good question.
I want to see a little bit of vision from them.
Where does this fit in your current
career current career path would be the simplest way to ask.
Yeah, nice. That's a great question. Because to be fair, I've asked the other way.
Well, because 5 years, to be honest, even for us, like, are we going to exit our agencies? Are we doubling the size of our agency? Are we, if we're going international? I mean, those are things that we might be thinking about right now, but we don't have a plan for it.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really cool question. And look, if people have a vision, they'll tell you. Well, the ones that I've always found really good people do have they have a vision for themselves. They know where they want to go, and they're looking for the right company to hook up to and make that happen. It's very cool. What do you do? So you've got people, you're interviewing people. Do you have a process for what happens next? Like, do you shortlist how many? Was it role dependent? How do you work that?
So once we've got our pool, I actually have a psychologist on the recruitment team, and I have an experienced recruiter. So they get to take, even though I'm probably biased in my individual seat, I still ask the two of them for their opinions on the candidates. I do let my managers interview on the first round. I tried my best to keep my hands out of the honeypot and kind of, getting in there right away, even though I think they're good. I will probably give a little bit of guidance to those individuals. So first interviews are generally half an hour to 45 minutes, getting to learn the person a lot. Second interview is generally going to be something substantial. So we're actually looking at skill set. We're looking at decision-making process, creativity, and depending on the role, we have a little homework assignment designed for each one. Then we generally put them in a room with their peers. So if they're going to be working inside of the agency, we'll give them 45 minutes of just kind of like chill out, hang out. Like, what does everyone think? Is this a good fit for our culture? Does the person seem nervous at all? How do you think they're going to interact with clients? And then our final step, usually fourth or fifth, is they meet with Bref, my business partner, and I. We pretty much have already got the recommendation from the managers and directors of what they want to do. But Bref and I are just making sure, again, like litmus test, it's our business. And last year, we actually had quite a few where we both looked at each other and said, this is not the right hire. I had to go back to our younger leadership team and tell them why. And then I've had other times where my directors have really advocated and gone, okay, like, I think this could be a potential mistake, but I can't protect them from everything. And we were 50-50 last year. One of the directors made a great call, and the other one, it wasn't so great. But that's important. You got to give your leadership team the ability to make those mistakes.
Totally. Otherwise, it gets stuck on you, right? Like, and that's not that. You don't want to grow anything that way. What are some of the things that go wrong? Like, when you start to think, oh, that person, like, what is it that goes wrong? Like, is it just a culture fit? Is it they actually don't have the skills? What do you find businesses run into?
I think most people that you hire, there's two pieces of advice that came to me from my life coach. One is that you overestimate the person's ability during the interview process. Okay. So you look at that person and say, oh, they're absolutely incredible. Or the other failure is you fail to support them. So maybe, it's not adequate training. It's not a detailed enough job description. It's not enough resources for them to do the job. So when we fail, that's the first two things that we look at. Did we overestimate that person? Did they have more charm? Did they have less experience? Did they try to negotiate a better salary or anything like that? And then we actually have very detailed recorded universities inside of our organizations for every role. So we kind of started to whittle away at the failed to support. So now, instead of just giving an SOP, it's an SOP recorded of how to do it properly. That's recent and relevant. And that's something where if that person is struggling, it's not necessarily a bad hire. Is everyone learns in different ways. So you start to introduce different ways of learning, or you do identify that this person is not capable of doing the job. And that professional improvement plan, or we call it a PIP, can get introduced. So we think of them as the first 12 weeks. They're in every role, there's 12 milestones, one for each week. And if they struggle to hit a milestone, then automatically they go into that little professional improvement plan, or we already know that person is not a good fit.
Yeah.
And that's
There.
that's the way. And we actually present that 12-week roadmap when we're offering the position to the hire, so that they can clearly see what the next 4 months, 3 months will look like for them.
Nice. And that roadmap just outlines some basic functions of their role.
Super basic. So like week 2 is like, just make sure you show up on time, 5 minutes early for every meeting or every scheduled thing. For a graphic designer, it might be, hey, create a brand guide for one of our new clients, right? It doesn't even have to be on brand. Just take it and just go and have some really cool creative fun with it. For an ad manager, you got to be able to set up an ad account. They got to be able to fix an ad account that's burning down, in the ad account. And I think we just made it super simple. Like, that's the minimum. If that hire can't get there, then it's a lesson to our team of what did we miss.
Yeah, exactly. Then, okay, so you've hired some great people. How do you keep the culture alive? What's your secret sauce there? Because I'm a massive believer in culture. I really, getting people to work and getting people to bring their best, I think is key. And then we'll add that leadership part to it as well. But what do you do from a culture perspective?
I would love to take credit for it, but that's my business partner. He's the visionary. I'm the integrator. So if you know EOS, anyone watching, Brett, my business partner, is the big ideas guy. He's the Energizer bunny. So every Tuesday we do an all hands team meeting, usually 30 to 35 minutes. We talk about where we are as a company, revenue and success. We talk about wins across the departments. We usually do a spotlight on one, and we have 40. So we have a spotlight on one individual. And what they do is they don't just kind of like, hey, here's who I am and what I do. It's, here's something that I want to teach everybody today, something that I'm passionate about, something that might not even be related to marketing.
Yeah, cool.
Because what ended up happening was, as we grew past 30, I would start thinking to myself, oh, I don't know that person's wife's name anymore. Or what's their kid's name? And you start to lose connection as you build a business sometimes, and it's important. So we do that. We do virtual coffee. So a lot of our team is remote. So the two owners, we try our best each quarter to sit down for 5 to 10 minutes and, how's life? Nothing work related to work, right? Like, is there anything that you need? I noticed you haven't used any of your vacation yet. Do you got any plans for anything like that?
Yeah, okay.
And as you grow, making sure that the leadership team can start taking on those monthly reviews, those weekly check-ins. They understand, have a good pulse on, like, is this person's energy high? Is their energy low? Are they struggling for a specific reason, personally or professionally?
Yeah.
We have a psychologist on staff. So that's
one. Have you always had that, or?
We hired our first one about 1.5 years ago. And one of my early undergrads was psychology. So I've always, not the most emotionally intelligent person, but I see the value in having someone there that can talk through personal problems. And we actually we had a rough patch where I think there was 3 of our employees were struggling with relationships, romantic relationships. And one had gotten hit in the face by a partner. Another one had a fairly abrupt end to a relationship. And we just started thinking to ourselves, they can't be at their best if they're not okay mentally and emotionally. And it's great from a hiring perspective, because that psychologist is looking at things that are completely left field of what you're looking for. But they're also very talented in assessing the Colbys and the DISCs and the different personality assessments and bringing different ones forward. And it's just a really nice resource for the team to know, like, hey, there's a file over here that's under lock and key by this individual that I can talk about in my personal stuff. The owners are never going to know, but I know that I'm kind of getting taken care of.
So we have something similar, but we don't have them on staff, but we have a program where people can ring in, employers can ring in, and then there's counseling services of all different types. And that's really, really good. Giving people the ability to talk to someone and get whatever they need. And we don't know about it. We just get invoiced from a point of view, which I think is really, really good. I think it's kind of, I guess, making the environment more safe, which I think is really, really important.
It really helps on retention a lot too. When we talk to people during the job offer, it's not necessarily on the job posting, but during the job offer, we outline what paid time off looks like, what counseling services look like, what supports are there. And most of the time that person, it kind of, it's like the icing on the cake. They're like, they're already going to accept the job offer. But they're looking at this and going, oh, you really, like, this is why I had to run through that gauntlet of the 5 interviews. You're really looking for the right person. And I mean, we want them to be here forever. I want them to keep running the company so that I can keep traveling the world.
Yes, true. And look, you want to protect your team as well. That's another aspect to that. I think that's really, really important, especially when you start getting high performers in a team. You have to be very, very careful that you're not bringing underperformers into a team, which why that process is so important, right? Because you bring the right people through. You might go a little bit slower, but it's worth it in the end, right? Let's talk about leadership then. Obviously, you've owned a couple of different businesses and you've had different leadership roles. What's your philosophy around leadership?
I mean, one of the very first definitions I ever heard of leadership was in one of those McDonald's courses. And I believe it was defined as accomplishing through others. So basically not just building a foundation yourself, but allowing the whole team to build the foundation. And your job is to really be thinking about that next floor up.
Nice.
Right. And if you don't take the time to build that foundation, and you don't have the trust and you don't have the people trained in properly, and you can try to build that 40 stories high. But the reality is it's going to tip over and fall.
And I really believe like you've got to build through leaders, right? You've got to build leaders inside a business. Let's talk about that though, because there's business owners here going, there might be business owners here going, man, I'd love to build that next layer, but how do I do it? I know from my perspective, it took a while to really understand how to do it. And once you start getting and building out that leadership team, that executive team, sometimes it feels like you take one step back and then you go 2 steps forward and then you go 2 steps back and then you go another 3 steps. It's kind of, sometimes you don't quite get the right people in that seat sometimes. But then, when you do find that person, you're like, oh, man, that's good. Like, you know when you've got someone. So let's talk a wee bit about that, because I think that's an important thing, building leaders inside a business. Because if you don't, it's always going to be you. And if it's always going to be you, you're not doing 6 weeks Australia, New Zealand.
No.
So where do you see, building that foundation?
So I mentor as a coach inside of Seven Figure Agency, a lot of younger agency owners and entrepreneurs. And a couple of pieces of advice that I give them that I think they're often surprised by. The first is, whether it's a mindset coach, a life coach, someone that's got fairly decent certifications, I think as soon as an entrepreneur can afford one of those every 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, I think it's invaluable for you to sit down for an hour and just hear a perspective that's probably going to be contrarian to your own. So
when you think about that, you're talking to the leader looking to employ other people, or other leaders should have some sort of mindset coach, or not a business coach, but more working on the bigger picture.
So I can tell the story. So when I was in private equity back in 2017 to 2019, they brought a leadership coach to me in my executive role, and his specialty was dealing with older entrepreneurs, like kind of gray-haired 50+ entrepreneurs. And I was 32 at the time, Scott, and I remember looking at them and being like, why do I need to talk to this old guy? Like, what could he possibly? And Mike's going to end up watching this and have a good laugh remembering. And I sat down because, obviously it was mandatory. I had to sit down with him. And I didn't look this guy up on LinkedIn, right? I was thinking to myself, like, this is a waste of time. Like, he's not going to teach me nothing. And as we started going through things, he kind of laid out a couple of other things. And I think he got the vibe kind of near the end of that second session that I had with him. And he said, why don't you look me up on LinkedIn? Let's get connected. And Scott, as I was going through his resume on LinkedIn, I was like, holy shit. Like, talk about the list of Fortune 500 companies this guy had run sales teams for. Well, sales director, as head of sales, nationally as head of sales. And immediately I thought to myself, there's probably something I can learn from this guy. Right? And then now, almost 7 years later, he's still my coach. I still spend time with him. And the reason I bring that up to everybody is there are going to be times that you have the resources and the abilities, and there's going to be times where you have to go and find somebody that complements you in a different way. And I think as a leader, I know where my strengths are and I know where my weaknesses are. I'm working on those weaknesses, always looking to develop it, but I know there's times that my team needs something more. And then you're looking, when you're building out that leadership team, what are those complementary pieces? And that's how you really build, I think, like that moat.
Yeah. So even so if you look at your leadership team, what skills could they really use? Like, I'm looking at a couple of people. Okay, go and find someone that they could go and speak to. Is that all here?
Yeah, I think on our team there is. So I call it the love bug, right? The person that's like really high emotional intelligence, lots of words of praise, no conflict with anyone at any time, always looking for a solution. If she gets sassed, she's kind of, putting up a hand and going, hey, like, that tone's not great, and let's move it over to this. So very, very, she's actually an account manager by training, but very, very good tactically at dealing with people. I have another person who's very, very creative. He's absolutely amazing on ideas and different concepts, trying to work on his emotional intelligence as much, but his team knows that he's there 100% to support them. And he'll use those types of words like, hey, I'm 100% committed to supporting you in this role. I then have my director of operations is a lawyer by training. So she's a little bit more rigid, a little bit more kind of prim and proper, square kind of to a T, but she's also gone her master's in management to basically complement a lot of those really strong assertive skills so that she can start to run a company more effectively. I have one that she can speak 4 languages. She's got a master's in communication. She has been with the company for 5 years. Everyone loves working with her, and she's kind of like that glue person that just, probably is the quietest on the team when we're having our level 10s, but when she speaks, it carries a lot of weight.
So do you run a roadmap for those people? You see, okay, here's where you are, and talking to them about here where they want to go, and then match some people to them or get them to go find someone? How do you do that?
So they actually have what's called an emerging leaders program. So it's a curriculum that I've developed where they have a full day module of how to discuss, conversations in crucial ways with different people, clients. They have.
Where did you come from? Where did that come from?
That actually came from private equity. So so I had a program that I had developed a number of years ago, because as you're trying to hire people quickly, you got to develop them quickly too. So there's an emotional intelligence module. There is one on decision making, one on financial acumen. We have conflict resolution. I'm trying to think of, there's about 13 of them. And it's not something that they get to do or could do all in 1 month, right? This is kind of think of it as like a 6 to 24 month plan.
That's nice.
But at their level, as directors, if they're doing level 3, are emerging leaders, which are the people that haven't even taken the leadership position yet, but are showing it, they get to take level 1. So they get to learn a little bit about how to run a project, like what are the key components of running a project. And then they get to go to level 2, which is, okay, well, maybe I get to run the project. Maybe I get to sit down and map it all out into, a Gantt chart. Not everyone watching will know what that is. Like a timeline of everything. Maybe they get to run the budget a little bit. And then level 3, okay, well, that's when you can be ready to be a director, because you've accumulated, credit, almost like university style. Like you've accumulated some credits now, and you're more prepared to take on roles rather than giving a director something that they've never done for the very first time and expecting them to excel.
That is so good. Where do you host that? Like, do you host that on a site inside your site, or how do you?
Yeah, so you can use platforms like schools out now. There's Circle, Kajabi, High Level has that. We use a platform called Thinkific. But yeah, I mean, there's free versions of those different things out there. We use Thinkific just because our whole, all of our training position SOPs are held in that as well. You can use any of them.
We use Training. It's really good. I like it. But that'd be great to put something like a program like that in place. And I think, hey, imagine if you had that as a business owner, you started to think through.
Hey, it's 2026. You're listening to this podcast and you've probably heard of AI. So here's what I want you to do. We've created a free playbook that'll actually help you with AI and help your business get recommended. So all you need to do is go to the show notes or the link that's in this video, and I'll send you this playbook for free.
So where would a business owner, where would he start or she start to think through an emerging leaders program? What would be like, what are you thinking from an outcomes perspective?
So I think a couple different situations probably. One might be that you have a real vacuum of leadership in your agency, and that's going to happen sometimes, right? Where you're a young, you might be 23 or 24, and this is like the first time that you're building something.
Yeah.
I think in those instances, like something like seven-figure agency, right? Coming in and getting access to, different coaches, different specialty coaches. That's a fairly unique program that Josh has put together. I think what I did before I came into the agency world is a lot of your local universities will have what are called post-grad courses or post-grad certificates. Yeah. So it might be a Saturday, Sunday, or it might be like a once a semester type of thing, but it's going to be taught usually by a professor that works in industry that is coming back to the university to teach probably companies that are honestly 10 to 20 times the size of you. Yeah. But sometimes those courses can be $500 to $1,500. Yeah. They can be for 1 to 2 people. Yep. You can do them virtually. MIT's got some great ones that my team's been through. Part of the learning plan that we put together for our leadership team is I have a list of things I want them to work on, but they also have a small budget of what do they want to go and do.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And as long as it's not like, studying Shakespeare or anything like that, right? Like I want it relevant to the business. They get the opportunity. So my head CSM, my head account manager, came to me recently and said, "Hey, Marcus Sheridan's got this 6-week intensive course. I want to put it in my plan. Can I take it?" And I looked at the price and was like, okay, it is in the budget and that's what she wants to do. And I give them that freedom to make a good decision on what do they want to do. But before I say yes, I do make them like, what is the outcome? Yeah. Right. What's the learning objective that you're going to get? How can this benefit a client or benefit the team? I do want them thinking about that before they spend the money.
We have $1,000 per person per year to spend, and it's really cool. It's relatively new. We released it last year, but it's really cool to see some of the things that people are going and doing. Our graphic designer is actually going to a really well-known graphic and branding conference, and she's going to specific modules because she knows that's what's going to. Our young videographer, he realized late last year doing a presentation with a team inside this room that he needed to go and be better at speaking. So he's going to Toastmasters or there's things like that. I just think it's just I'm grateful that I'm in a position where I can allow people to go do that, because I think that's awesome. Because I don't know if they'd do it by themselves, but giving them permission, hey, you know what? I believe in you. Here's $1,000, have at it. But also the outcome's really important. What are you going to do? How's it going to help our clients and help you as a person too? Because I just think it's great. I think not enough people go out there and invest in themselves.
And jump in for a sec, because there's going to be some people going $1,000 a person. I can't afford that. Yeah. Even something like Udemy is great, right? You can go on there, sometimes find a course at a specific time of the year that's normally $1,500 and they're selling it for like $500 or $300 or $250.
Trust me, they are like Briscoes. People will know this when I'm saying they're always on sale.
Always.
But those courses are great. We actually have them inside our platform as well.
And it can just be a good stepping stone for the next 12 months while you're growing your revenue to have your team doing something. Yeah. And again, there's always going to be bigger and better versions of it, but you just need them to understand the fundamentals first, and then they can start building on that.
Well, one of the things I did last year was I really wanted people to understand marketing at a better level from a numbers perspective, LTV, CAC, all that sort of stuff. So I started looking at some of the things Alex Tomosi was doing when he was interviewing business owners and helping business owners. So what it is, I got the transcripts of those videos. I put the videos into Trainual, then I got the transcripts of those videos, and then I put them up into ChatGPT and got ChatGPT to create me a quiz based on the videos. So people had to go and watch the videos and then do the quizzes, and then I can track who's done them and stuff. And it's such an easy way. But I have people come back to me and go, "Oh man, Scott, thanks for getting us to watch those videos." They learn quite a lot, and then obviously being reinforced by going into Trainual and having to do the quiz, and I can see who's doing the quiz. I thought it was really, really valuable for just learning, This has been a good chat, but we're going to have to talk about marketing because I see 40 minutes, and I know you want to talk about marketing, and I know business owners listening want me to talk to you about marketing. What is marketing to you? Let's just rip that Band-Aid off.
My definition.
What's your definition?
So when I'm teaching on this topic, I go back old school.
Yeah.
And I tell people that my definition of marketing is, in its simplest form, about conversations and conversions.
Nice.
Our clients want to talk about conversions, Scott, all the time. Yeah. What's the lead? What's the call? Yeah. What's the form fill? But one of the things that as marketers, I don't think that we're that great at is helping people understand how many conversations and in how many different places and in how many different ways that has to occur for that conversion to then occur. So one of the things I talk to my team about all the time is, cool, conversation. Even when I say it now, everyone's thinking like talking back and forth. Yeah. We're having a conversation. Scott and I will leave this though today, and we'll have conversations in our own heads about different things. And a lot of the time as marketers, we're not taking great credit for that. Right. So, you see a Chanel magazine, or you see, another big brand. You don't think of the thousands of little conversations that come off of that, print or that magazine or that radio advert. And I think in marketing, we don't take enough credit for all the conversations that get created because it's hard to measure them. But that's the beauty of the marketing is, when you're warming up an audience and you're starting something super cold, or you're motivating somebody in a purchasing decision, or you're reinforcing after purchase with all the, hey, there's no such thing as regret, right? Like, love this forever. I think, I think these young kids come in and just think of a marketing as a digital ad, and I can run ads. I've run ads, Scott. Trust me. I sold $200,000 in e-com, and I'm like, that's great. I like the conversions. I'll give you all the respect and the credit in the world for the conversion. But what did you do about conversations? Tell me about that.
Yeah, totally. Look, I've see this so many times on this podcast. People come in and they want to talk the tactic.
Yep.
And I say, look, we can talk a tactic, but first we've got to design the marketing strategy to pick the tactics to produce the results you want. And look at me, and I'm like, well, here's what I mean. All right, because I really believe, and I've seen this time and time again in the companies that we deal with and how they've been so successful, it's about having a consistent message. Then it's about having frequency of reach. So we start creating those conversations more and more and more. And then it's about becoming relevant. So consistency of message plus frequency of reach equals relevancy. The more relevant you are, the more sales you make, and the more opportunity to become relevant is about having a consistent message. It's about then having frequency of reach and then doing it again and again and again and again. And I think that's the thing. If you're not designing your strategy to do those two things to become relevant, you're good at running a tactic. But when the tactic dries up, or the algorithms change, or the person who owns the race course decides to ban your account, what do you do then? So I really believe, just like you do, that you really have to go a bit deeper. So let's talk about that then, because I think it's important for business owners to understand, because we do live in a world of this tactic, that tactic, because there's plenty of people selling the tactic. Where does a business owner start for you? I know where they start for me, but where do they start for you when it comes to marketing and building those conversations?
You gotta have your thing. I'm still old school romantic about radio and the 1980s and the 70s and the 60s. And one of the fun things I did here, because I'm for the Kiwis and the Australians, they'll have a good laugh with this, right? My kids know KFC because obviously we have Kentucky Fried Chicken over in North America. But in the car ride by one, I said to my wife, finger licking good. And my oldest 13-year-old looked and said, what's that mean?
Really?
And I was like, oh, okay. So, like some of those slogans have kind of gone away a little bit, right? They've changed the marketing focus. And if I said anybody under the age of 35, finger licking good, they probably know 100% that's Kentucky Fried Chicken. Yeah. But to a 13-year-old, he had no clue.
No clue.
Right. And I was like, okay, so he's not consuming radio, right? No. He obviously is, son of a marketer. He's very in tune, but he had no clue what I was talking about.
Yeah, true, eh?
Right. Just do it. He's like, oh yeah, Jordan, Nike, I got it, Dad. Right. But think of how many companies have kind of abandoned the slogan.
Yeah. True.
And I think that that's dangerous, because one of the other tidbits hopefully I'm going to give the audience is of the 4Ps, we don't really give appreciation to placement and how much that's changed over the last 15, 20 years. Right. Placement used to be the billboard, the audio on the TV, the radio. Placement, because we've gone so digital, we just take it for granted.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a slogan, and you're not placing that in front of your audience, you're just noise. You're just competing with everybody else that's got a similar design or an AI short video or anything else. And I'm going to encourage every company, those little zingers, right? The little kind of romantic radio things or a slogan. I'm going to encourage everybody to, like, for a clinic grower, we did everything from click to consult. That's kind of our little slogan, right? So we do all of the digital for you from a click, because we're medical, all the way to the consultation with the patient. So it's really easy for people to see on our materials and our marketing, oh, you guys do everything from click to consult. So do you book the appointment? And we just have to nod. Oh, you do all the digital? We just have to nod. Like something like that, very small brand, but everyone should be thinking about that.
Yeah, I like that. Like, and look, here's the thing. Every business owner could do this. Let's talk about how they do it, how they can do it. But first, one of our clients, Novus New Zealand, they created an ad campaign a long time ago, but it was Show Us Your Crack. When I mention Novus in a meeting, everyone says, show us your crack, show us your crack, show us your crack, show us your crack. And it's become like famous to the point where the competitors just, they even tried to use a little bit of their in their ads. But every business owner could do this. So let's talk about how they could do this, because I think it's a big one. And we are starting to walk into a world of vanilla. Where you've got kids that don't even know what finger lick good is.
So we know 6'7".
Yeah, 6'7". Yeah, I still don't get that, but anyway. Let's talk about it. How do they create a zinger? You call it a zinger. We call it, what do we call it in Zoom? We call it let's call it a zinger for right now, because I can't remember.
No, I think people haven't been doing it because it does require a lot of testing.
Yeah.
Right. So back in the radio days, right, you'd have, you'd have your creative team at the station, right? And they would, then again, like well-accomplished people, they probably would get a hit 1 out of 3, which is pretty good. Yeah. If you went to a young kid now, or even went to your team, we came outside of the studio and said, hey, like it would require a lot more testing. And those people, they didn't go away. They're still out there doing these types of things. It's just because we haven't all been spending radio budget. Yeah. There hasn't been as much of a focus on it.
So do you think, though, like if you look at your click to consult, we do everything from click to consult, you looked at the outcome, though, right? Like, what is the person thinking? When they think about it, like they go, okay, they did from click to consult. Right. So was that how you designed yours? And just looked at your outcome of this is what we want to.
So I've always been, historically, when I built these, I've always been a start to finish.
Yeah.
So when I was in research, I did scientific research for natural health products for a period of time. So that was everything from concept to claim. Because you're having a business owner a concept about a nutraceutical or some type of health product, and then they have to go to the regulatory space to get it approved for whatever they want to claim, right? So from the concept to the claim, for me, it was simple. We just ended up doing the exact same thing and went from click to consult. So simplicity for me in marketing is always like the smallest that you can make it. That lowest common denominator is the best. That's why KFC finger licking good. Yeah, it's fantastic. Probably not as, great post-COVID. Because, hand sanitizer got to get in there somewhere. But if you go back historically, there's probably 1,000 brands that had something really, really similar to your business that you could adopt in a meaningful, unique way. And I'm going to talk to the business owners. You're going to have to test it and see. And sometimes that's very, it can feel self-defeating. But when you hit it, you hit it. Like Nike would never abandon just do it.
No.
Or McDonald's was that da-da-da-da-da. Like that's just as simple with Justin Timberlake, just doing that little thing. And again, today in 2026, the teens probably aren't going to pick that up. But for our generation, it's like as soon as I do that, everyone's like McDonald's, Justin Timberlake. We forget about the power of those things.
Yeah. It is amazing though, like I'll go into a workshop, go into a seminar, and it doesn't matter where in the world I've done this. If I say, what brand do you think of when I say soft drink? Everyone says Coke.
Yep.
What brand do you think of when I say fast food? Everyone says McDonald's. Then I go to and I say I'm in Christchurch. I'll say, okay, what brand do you think of when I say Plumbing Christchurch? And no one says anything. What brand do you think of when I say Flowers Christchurch? No one says anything. And I think there's a massive opportunity there for business owners, local business owners, to start to own some of those words, some of those key things. And that would start with maybe something like this, or start with being really, really clear on the message, who you are, where you are.
Well, here's a story I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
So you've been commenting in my private messages, hashtag NZ Inc.
NZ Inc.
What is that?
So New Zealand Inc. So we created a little brand a few years ago, just personally with mates, because we wanted to show the world, because we realized lots of people that we know live overseas. So we write NZ Inc. and on all our posts.
Okay.
And it's purely for that reason is we want people like to know that New Zealand is a place that people should come. A little bit private, a little bit weird, but you notice it.
It's impact.
Yeah.
It's impact. And it's just, it's those small things. These are often free.
Yeah.
Again, I've not even turned ChatGPT onto any of this stuff. I think for most people, if they were to throw in their brand guide, throw in their core values, give me 50, there's probably going to be 3 or 4 that they're actually right off the bat, like their gut's just going to go, I want to work with this a little bit.
Yeah.
And the worst thing that happens is it fails and it doesn't work. But I think it's one of the big opportunities in 2026 with all the noise, all the competition, every channel and placement that's available. Get out there and start making yourself remarkable, because there are brands that are doing that every single day. And to be honest, they're still doing it the lazy way.
Yeah.
Like they're not using slogans and singers and stuff like that.
Well, one of the keys to this then is to be consistent with it as well. Like that's where that frequency and reach. So whatever that consistent message, that consistent zinger that you come up with, or jingle, that's what we call in New Zealand. We call it jingle.
Yep, the radio publishers are all jingle.
Yeah, you've got to be consistent with it, and I think that's where a lot of people fall over in the marketing world. They live in a world where, and you may experience this with your clients in Canada or around the world, where if results aren't coming in, why? And they don't give. I think they've been sold. For some reason, I think they've been sold marketing is a quick fix, and I don't think it is.
So I'll give another huge piece of advice to everybody. Okay, and this will get the comments. This will get the comments going. Marketing is never going to fix your problems.
No,
it is only going to show you where they are.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that that example I use in the private health clinic space is if you're coming and saying that you need more phone calls, marketing's not going to get you more phone calls if no one's answering the phone.
True.
It's just going to show you where the problems are.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of take a step back and say marketing is conversations and conversions, right? It's the same thing. Business owners saying, Scott, I need conversions. Well, I'm going to take it back to my marketing team and say, okay, well, tell me about the conversations.
Yeah.
Like, what's our slogan, our jingle? What's our marketing plan? Oh, we're just throwing it up on the wall and hoping that something sticks.
Totally.
I don't know many businesses. Things go viral, right? But that Mad Men style of marketing is still relevant today.
Well, the thing is, viral is not really that important to a local business. Like local business needs consistency. I really believe marketing fails at the weakest link. And really what your point is there, if someone's not answering the phone. I remember doing a direct response campaign quite a few years ago in my first business. And I remember talking to the business owner. I remember sitting around the room as an engineering firm. Some sort of campaign we'd done before in some industry worked really, really well. Put a bit of a twist on it. And we're all around the room talking to the people and everyone's jobs, and we were looking to the point, well, who's gonna do the phoning? And generally we would have the follow-up phone call. We'd have someone outsourced to do that. And this lady was like, she was an admin lady, and she was like, no, I'll take care of that, because no, she didn't have a role. And to be fair, looking back, she didn't need a role. She's doing what she was doing. Anyway, she wanted to do the calling. So probably about 3 weeks, we were like into this campaign. We're like, why is this campaign not working? And it was when we realized, we went back and had a meeting, and she was like, we went around the room trying to figure it out. And the lady was like, oh, yeah, I haven't been doing those calls. And I was like, it was a blinding flash to the obvious for me. It was like, man, marketing fails at the weakest link. And the weakest link in that room was me, because I let someone take over our process because she didn't have a role, So we had to fix that 6 weeks later, the campaign's gone really, really well. Put our own calling person in there, but it made me realize you actually have to plan for everything when it comes to that, because you can have the greatest marketing campaign, but if you have that one weakest link, and it falls over, and that was the person doing the calling.
Yep. And if you're not answering the phone, they're just calling your competition next.
Yeah.
I tell my clients that all the time. Like if you think, oh, everyone, got to get to that lead within 6 minutes or 3 minutes. I'm like, yeah, because they're talking to somebody else.
Yeah, totally.
They were already booked, or, that made their decision, and their opinion of you is you don't answer the phone.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, like, as a busy individual, I'm not calling somebody that can't answer. Like,
No.
I have other things to do.
No. And there's I think even with AI today, you're up against it too. Like AI is going to either answer your phones for you or your competitors, like they're going to use technology, right?
AI is going to be calling local businesses this year, asking for pricing and availability. And if you're not answering the phone, that's not going to be showing up in, anyone's ChatGPT summaries.
No. We're living in a different world, eh? Like we'll talk about technology. One thing I just want to talk about though, was part of that. I really believe people buy from people they know, like, and trust. Okay, and I think as a business owner, you can look at know, like, and trust. I believe you should. One of the things we did a few years ago is I think is about character. So we created a hashtag, celebrate your victories, because we wanted to be known by someone in the marketplace, by people who celebrate their victories. So that's really, really important to me. And I think every business owner could get known by being useful and helpful. So what is it they could be useful and helpful for? Well, what do they know? What's some of the insights they could be sharing? And then you look at that's about creating chemistry. And I don't think enough people create chemistry in their marketing. A good example is a lady was a real estate agent. I asked her, hey, how do you know when you're going to get a deal? She goes, well, if I walk in and there's a dog in there, I get the deal. I was like, tell me why. She goes, well, I'm a dog lover. So if there's a dog in the room, I'll go straight up to the dog, probably ignore the people, go up to the dog, pat the dog, blah, 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 blah. Lovely dog, all that sort of stuff. What does that indirectly say to the owners of the house? This person is just like me. So all of a sudden you're indirectly building chemistry versus someone else walking in the room, another real estate agent, sees the dog, ignores the dog, goes straight up to the dog comes up, hey, go away. Who's getting the listing? The person that is the dog lover, right? So because of chemistry, people do business they know, like, and then trust. And trust is about credibility. I think this is one of the areas business owners get really, really wrong, and they don't put enough work into, and that is video, testimonials, reviews, case studies.
Somebody got reviews.
Every business owner, wake up, 2026, you got to be doing this.
This entire 6-week trip was planned almost exclusively through the quality of reviews.
Wow. Tell me more about that.
Well, I have a wife who's 39 and we have 3 kids, and she is not traveling this far to go to somewhere that was a 3.0 instead of a 5.0.
So good.
Like it's not even a conversation, Scott, that you could bring up to her. Let's try it. It's closer. It's cheaper. It's got better availability. Just the question and look to her was, what was the rating?
Yeah.
And if it was anything less than 4.5, she was like, she would just take over the conversation, take over the research herself.
Yeah.
And I think people, that's one of the things that I talk to businesses about a lot when I'm on stage or when I'm teaching to our industry, and you hit it, is you should be trying to do 5 to 10 reviews every week.
Yeah. We went to a restaurant last night, brand new restaurant, and I looked at the reviews and gave it the thumbs up. Like brand new, first time I'd been there. I'm like, I'm not going there if it's a certain below a certain level. I'm not going to waste my time or my money. And I just think business owners are sleeping on it. They're sleeping on their opportunity to get ahead. Where do you think, what could business owners be doing? Obviously, let's give them the basics.
Well, in a perfect world, if they built a good team that can take the control, then that gives them the freedom to go out and have those conversations with a whole audience of people, whether that's on stage, right, if they're traveling. If you're a local-based business, that's getting out there, and that's uncomfortable. I mean, like, it's difficult to get people to go and shake a hand and knock on a door, but there's many, many clever ways of doing it. And early on, your business is going to be about you.
Yeah.
everyone's always thinking, oh, it's the clinic grower, right? Or it's the big name. No, I mean, clinic grower 6 years today is still Brett and Brad in our team. And it's probably going to be that way for, the foreseeable future. Maybe eventually it'll become large enough that it becomes itself. But if we suddenly stopped having the conversations and we weren't as involved, I don't think our brand would be as strong or continuing.
Yeah, and like you've got to face it. You've got to be. And I think the one thing I've been saying this for years. Get on video, be on video. And I've just seen last year, and the number of clients that actually have really ramped up their video and seeing their business starting to go because of that, right?
People want to see you.
People want to see you. And if you can get over that hurdle, all of a sudden your business starts to grow because people start to see you again and again and again. They build that know, like, and trust faster. They build that credibility faster. So they buy from you. Let's talk about technology for a second. AI, it's the what everyone was talking about in 2025. I think it might have got overcooked a wee bit in some areas, but where do you see it in 2026? Where do you see it, going? And I want to speak specifically for local business owners that probably maybe are starting to use ChatGPT, but really aren't talking or thinking about it.
Oh, that's a big question. We can do a whole podcast about that.
Well, let's then just look at it. Some of the fundamentals that business owners should be looking at.
Yeah, I think your business needs to be found in more ways today than ever before.
Yeah.
I think that's
found and recommended.
Found and recommended. So if we think of Yellow Pages years ago, right? The big phone books and stuff like that. That was one spot that your business was found, and it was easy, right? You paid your subscription, and that's where you were.
Yeah.
Now there's probably 300, right? 300 business directories, listings, places, but that challenge in your business isn't going to get any easier. You probably need somebody or two people dedicated to making sure that the address is correct, the number is correct. Feeding these LLMs, right, these large language models is going to become literally a full-time job.
Yeah.
But it's going to come back to, again, we've been focusing on lowest common denominator, right? The easiest path forward. Your reviews. Yeah. Your reviews are probably going to, I'm just going to take a tangent, right? It's really scary that these LLMs love Reddit as much as they love it. I always, I'll get in trouble for saying this, right? But I always laugh and go if they were reading the Facebook groups that my wife is into, right? And everything that people said is literally the truth. Yeah. Right? I wouldn't own the car that I own. I wouldn't be traveling on the flights that I'm traveling on. So that's highly inaccurate, but Reddit's perfect.
Yes.
So crazy. The reason I bring that up to everybody is you want to be able to the best of your ability to control the reputation of your brand. And I think that that's first the reviews. Second, it's again, image, brand, your website, the posts on your social profiles, Google Business Profile. I think just by doing those alone, most businesses are doing more than the bare minimum to be able to be relevant with AI. I think if you're not focusing on your reviews, AI is just going to skip you over. Yeah. I think if you don't have strong brand cohesion and you don't have that jingle, I think it's going to skip over you. And the things that we're suggesting today, honestly, you could probably just do this week and brainstorm some great ideas on and probably get kicked up higher than you presently are in the listings right now. But it is overwhelming. I think a lot of people are trying to shut their eyes just because they're like, it's too much all at once. But I think if you're a smart business owner, you can do the easier work and be more relevant with it by focusing on the reviews and the brand.
Totally. I'd add one thing to that, though. I think everyone should be creating video content, whether it's just even if it's just Q&A and on a YouTube channel, because I think YouTube's going to have a long play into this, but not only from that perspective, but you can use the content in so many different places. And I think these algorithms, as we become more and more advanced, are going to see the content. They're going to want to understand not only that, but then people. And look, I searched your name up on Google, and you came up, your Instagram came up, and your 3 videos came up. If I did that a year ago, maybe your Instagram, but YouTube now right up in there. And I think that's a real opportunity And the good thing is, like it's like SEO to some degree, you only have to be better than your competitors. You know, when you think about it from a local's perspective, like if you want to outrank and be recommended, you only have to be better than your competitors in that marketplace.
No, in my opinion, you have to be just the most trusted.
Yeah.
So it comes down to, again, Google's algorithm over the last 12 years. It's all been built largely on trust.
Trust.
These new LLMs and AI models, what are they looking for? They're looking for trust signals, right? Yeah. So what do we use every single day when we're shopping on Amazon, or when we're looking at a restaurant? We're looking at reviews, because we have to trust other people to give us a preview of what that experience is going to be like. Guys, do your reviews. Do double down, triple down on your reviews in 2026. All this AI stuff, you'll be fine. Like if you just focus on those and then you respond to them, and there's different tips that Scott can give you on kind of like what to include in the replies and things like that. Feed these models information that's trust-based about your business, and you'll be fine.
I sort of saw this window coming 2 years ago, so we doubled down on our Google reviews. We got 150 Google reviews. Just before Christmas, we celebrated. We bought a Ninja slushy machine. We used it at Christmas. I tell you what, it's pretty good with Moscow Mule. Okay. That's really, really good. Well worth the 150 reviews. So if you're one of those people that gave us a review, thank you. We really enjoyed it. Well, this has been a great chat. Like, I think you're right. You know, AI is about trust, and it is about, and the marketing is about that, right? Marketing is about conversations. And I think as business owners, well, I think, but I'm going to caveat today. I just think businesses, and this is why, you know, businesses like myself and yours and the agencies inside Seven Ring Agency have a role to play. I've seen marketing over the last 20 years change, where you could have one person inside an organization running your marketing. Now you cannot. You have to outsource it if you're going to be successful. Agree or disagree?
I mean, I think it depends on the business, but I think what you need is more people that can give you a competitive advantage that you're not going to be able to afford all in one individual. And I think that's probably the thing that I've learned as well too. We hire from everywhere in the world. People sometimes think that we're doing that offshoring because it's cheaper, and it's like, no, I want the best in the world. Yeah. I just want the best.
I learned this lesson last year, and I'm so grateful. It's one of the reasons I'm so grateful for Seven Figure Agency is I've learned that the world is, from a hiring perspective, is huge, and there is a mass amount of talent out there that get it, want it, and just know how to execute.
Yeah. The other thing too is, I mean, if your business is locally here in New Zealand, while you're sleeping, you can have a team member do something else for you on times that you're not online. So that online, offline, I mean, our companies have pretty much become 24/7. No one's working a 24-hour shift, but there's something happening inside of the organization. Like even over here, I'm getting like little two-factor authentications for like Google logins and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what time of the day is that over there? But like that's the beauty of it too. So I agree. I think the day of having that one marketing person inside of your business now starts to limit you in terms of your growth. And I think fractionally, you can get a lot more value by finding experts, or like, you know, in this instance, I mean, your team here. Now, is that self-serving? Yeah. I mean, anyone watching, I mean, we're in the marketing industry and we have marketing agencies, but that's also the reason why we're growing I think it's showing you that more small and medium-sized businesses are saying, hey, I can hire someone for $60,000 a year as my dedicated marketer, but I'm only getting 160 hours a month. Yeah. Right? I can probably, for that same investment, and now including ad spend, right, get somewhere closer to maybe 100 hours of productivity a month.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a smart move. Hey, one last thing to finish, because look, I know you've got to go and do some stuff and have a holiday.
Yeah, a holiday.
But let's talk a wee bit about Seven Figure Agency. Sure. What's one of the things that you've learned from being, like, full disclosure, myself and you, we met in Miami at the Seven Figure Agency run by Josh and Yesenia Nelson. Amazing people. Agencies from all around the world come there. Some of the best, literally. And then they get some of the best speakers in the world. You know, guys that are running $30+ million businesses coming and speaking. And I'm talking about annual recurring revenue. What's one of the things you've learned from being inside that community?
I mean, tactically, I learn all the time. But from the community, it is actually the community. I get emotional talking about it, but like the individuals that are there would literally give you the shirt off their back if it meant that you needed it. And I think it's rare in business to find a group of entrepreneurs where there's like, we can be in competition with somebody else there, or maybe even like 5 or 6 people, but there is no competition in the community. It's really about, you know, hey, any of us trying to get to 3% market share, I mean, we're never even probably going to hit that. So there's more than enough that's there. It's Josh and I called that abundance mindset, which is really kind of like, hey, there's more than enough here for everybody that would want to do it. I think there's lots of people that come one time and it's not a fit for them and then they don't return, but all the returning people, they're my people. Like it's an incredible community. I've said that many times to them. That's where I want to spend my free time when I'm not with my family. And then tactically, we're all getting served the education that we need to bring back to our clients to be better marketers, better owners, be more helpful and productive in our communities. And I mean, there's you've seen it. There's people from all different countries, all different walks of life, different religions. We all come there to support each other, and it's a very unique community.
Yeah, it's very unique, right? And then that crazy part, like I always listen. You know, I heard it from a guy called Dale Bowman. I remember telling me, probably 20 odd years ago, look, people will come for the content, but they'll stay for the community. I never really thought about it. And then when you start to see it play out, like the content is absolutely unbelievable, right? Like you're learning, like I sit there on some of those ninja hacks and go, oh my God, this is amazing. But then you go and I listened to your presentation last year, November. And then, the presentation on culture from Joshua and his wife, this stuff. Yeah, and it was amazing. Like, and just it might have made me realize we're actually on the right path, you know. And it was so cool. It was so cool to be around people just thinking that different level, thinking that different game. But then at the point of view where you can just go and ask them.
Well, Hermosi talks about this in some of his earlier podcasts. He says something to the effect of when he returns or when he was returning home, like he didn't have anything in common with any of those people anymore. And my wife recognized it early on for me, like these are my people, right? I have so much in common, the risks that we take as entrepreneurs, the challenges that we're facing, everyone there, like there's not anyone that's like, oh, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that feels like, right? So I think similar to church, similar to other communities, I think when you get into a group of people that understand the risks and the rewards and the vision, I also love how it self-polices itself. And I've shared that a lot of times too. We have a speaker that's not so fantastic. Well, we give that feedback. And Josh and Yesenia have been great about doing a course correct. And I think they want the best for the community too, which is why it works well.
I think it's an amazing group when you get into a position where you've kind of, you're not at the top, you're not at the bottom, and you get to help everyone in between. I think that's a great thing as well. Awesome. Hey, well, I'm grateful. I obviously met you there, met your business partner, Brett, there, met a whole bunch of good people. I always, when I leave home, I always going to Miami. I was like, oh, it's such a long way. But when I get there, I'm like, yes. So good. But it's a
long trip.
It's just getting there, as you've never experienced. Hey man, appreciate you coming on. Any last 1 minute word of wisdom that you'd want to share with people?
Oh, just beautiful country for anyone here from New Zealand. I gotta thank. I mean, I was in Australia 20 years ago as a young man backpacking, first time in New Zealand. My kids have loved it. My wife has loved it. Everyone's been great and welcoming. So no, and the weather, I mean, it could be a little bit warmer, but listen, we crayfishing and seeing the country so far. Now that's just like one little corner I've seen. I still have the whole other South Island.
You're about to go to the South Island, to Tekapo, to Queenstown, to Tiana, the Milford Sound. Like you're about to see some of the jewels of New Zealand, right? So I enjoy it. And look, and to be fair, you came in January. It's probably a wee bit colder than normal. So you should come in February, March. No, January should be fine. It should be your next couple of days are looking all right. So, hey, really appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on. Look, and now it's your opportunity for me and Brad to come in. Look, we love doing this. We love helping business owners, but we'd love it if you shared this podcast. So if you see this podcast either on YouTube, Instagram, or lying around on LinkedIn, man, please share it. Share it with someone. Share it with a business owner. Tag them in and say, hey, maybe you should listen to this about hiring. Maybe you should listen to this about leadership. Maybe you should consider creating a leadership emerging leaders program, which is what I'm going to go and do from this podcast. Maybe you should create a jingle or a zinger, as Brad called it, and actually help your business become recognized a bit more, and then start to use and help get more reviews to help your business show up in AI. So to do that, share it with people. But until then, have fun, take action, and as always, celebrate your victories.